Hello, and welcome to my video. Today I am painting the Deathmaster from Zombicide Green Horde by CMON Games. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to like the video and subscribe. If you have any questions about painting, or board games, or early 2000s pop punk, leave me a comment on the video or drop by my Instagram at Memoriesofwe. I greatly appreciate you hanging out, so let's get started. We're starting with Vallejo's Gray Primer. I used an airbrush to prime him. We're here in my airbrush booth, which is just basically a cardboard box with a fan attached. And I'm using some Vallejo Model Colors Flat Flesh, making sure to hit everything. It's going to take a couple of coats to get a very even skin tone on him. Don't forget to hit the pieces like his front leg that is sticking out from the kilt. Next we're going to use Reikland Fleshshade on everything you just base coated in flat flesh. Try not to use too much and keep it moving until you ensure that you have proper coverage on every piece of the model. We're going back with flat flesh, and then I'll gradually add some off-white to that flat flesh to highlight all of the muscles. He has a lot of muscles. It'll take a long time to highlight him up, but it's also very easy to work on. Now's a good time to tell you that if you're interested in any of the products that I am using, you can look in the description below. I have a link to my Amazon web store where you can buy any of these products that I'm using. Using whole red, which is a very, it's a reddish brown color, very much in the brown spectrum with just a bit of red in it. It works as a great base coat to red, orange, brown, khaki. After a couple coats of that, we move on to khaki, and khaki is going to be the main base coat for his kilt. So you're going to have to do a couple layers of this, and also try to hit any other areas that could use the khaki, like the wraps on the staff of the axe. This is some Mechanicus Standard Gray from Citadel. And I'm hitting the axe with this. There's also a hand grip down below. And there's a couple little metal pieces on his waistband that you're going to want to hit with this. Now I tried to do a tartan pattern. My advice is go online, look up tartan patterns. You can look up plaid, which is kind of what we call it in the United States. They are slightly different, but they have the same idea behind them. Is a checkerboard pattern of overlapping colors, and I picked one out that I really liked. The background color that you use is also important to what the outcome is, so you're not going to want to use khaki for everything, but this khaki color I think looks really good. Also make sure that you keep that khaki on hand to go back and thin out any of these lines that kind of get away from you. Now in the alternating pattern, I'm using flat blue, and this is going to go perpendicular to those orange lines. The order you put them in is important, and I'm not saying I am doing it right. I'm probably honestly doing it wrong, but this is how I decided to do it. Now I'm coming back with whole red, and if you notice on tartan patterns, anywhere that the two colors meet, you're going to have a darker color there. I chose whole red to put in there. That bottom right dot I do wipe off and start again, because that's much too thick. You don't want it to look like that. You want it to look like the other three. Sorry for the positioning of the camera, but I'm using carbon ink, which is just a black ink. You can use any black, really, but I like how solid the black inks are. And that is lining inside the yellow lines. Now I'm trying to let that ink dry as long as possible. Ink takes a long time to dry. I'm putting Nuln oil on all of the metal or rock parts. I wasn't really 100% sure if I wanted to do this metal or rock, but I put on the Nuln oil and then making sure it doesn't pool too heavy. After that ink has dried, I'm coming back and putting white lines perpendicular to the black, and it is going in the area between the blue. This is where it's very important to look up tartan patterns to know exactly where you want to place these lines. I let this dry for about 24 hours before doing this step. In this step here, I'm putting Seraphim Sepia, a sepia wash, over the entire thing. It's going to bring all the colors down to more natural tones, making them not so bright and shiny and making the white not stand out so garishly. Back to Khaki here. And I'm hitting up all of those straps and wraps as I talked about before. You notice I've also done the character's eyes. I'm not going to show that because filming it and doing them always makes them turn out like garbage, and I don't want to teach you how to paint garbage. I'd rather teach you how to paint the things that I can actually do properly. Brainmatter Beige is an off-white by Army Painter. Any sort of off-white, or you can add white to the khaki and come back and start hitting the wraps with that. Notice I'm also doing the wraps on the axe head itself. There's also a skull on the back of our guy. You want to make sure you hit him with that off-white as well. I'm using black leather from ScaleColor. Any sort of dark brown works well here. And this is for the leather pieces, which are the pieces on his hands and his feet, and he has a belt, and then he also has some leather pouches that are hanging off of his belt. For his hair, I'm using black. Thought that would give it a really awesome contrast. It does match the character artwork as well, but I thought that since everything on him is so light, a really black hair would be really nice. And then of course I did the standard highlighting of using some grays to brighten that black up in some areas. Here I'm using that off-white again for the bone necklace that's going around his neck, and then also that skull that I was talking about on the back of him. Coming back with some orange leather. I'm not going to spend too much time highlighting this leather because it's not a focal point on this character. His big massive chest, his tartan pattern, and his axe are definitely the focal points. So with that, you don't have to spend too much time highlighting the extraneous features here, like his boots or any wraps or anything like that. Just make them look good. An Iroko, which is a yellowish brown, buff would work here. Mixing yellow with brown would work here, and just sort of line edge and line highlight all of the leather wraps. After this, you can base him in anything you want. I did my standard basing. You can go back and check out earlier videos if you want to see exactly how I did that, but have fun with basing. That's probably the easiest part. And I also threw some black on the handle just to give it some contrast as well. I hope you guys really like him. It's been a while since I've made a video, so thank you for all my subscribers who have stuck around. Do not forget to look down in the links below if you are interested in any of the products that I am using, and I hope that I will be able to see you all next time for the next video. Also, like, comment, and subscribe, and I definitely appreciate comments and where you ask me to paint specific things because it gives me something to strive for. I appreciate it. See you next time. Hey, thanks for watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it. If you want to see more, make sure you subscribe so that you'll be alerted every time I release a new one. If you want to see 2 that have already been produced and were hand-picked by these 2 crazy kids, then you can click on the links here on the screen now. Otherwise, thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you all next time.